So, Matt, it's been kind of an interesting year. Houston, the last couple of years, has been one of the contenders in the West, and they've come up short in the playoffs with James Harden.
It's
and
amazing.
An explosive offense.
3 years ago, they won 65 games.
Yeah, I mean, they've had just an explosive offense led by James Harden with Mike D'Antoni, and then this year you have the coaching change. You trade for John Wall. And you have an unhappy Harden. What was it like before the trade? Let's just talk about kind of the changes before the trade.
Very unsettling, to be honest with you. I just got the feeling that when James decided he wanted to go to birthday parties involving rap stars and not be at training camp, there wasn't going to be a great vibe at the start of the season. So I feel like that James has spent the last couple of years watching the rest of the NBA, the megastars, the alpha dogs, the tier one guys get to kind of pick and choose where they want to go. AD going to Los Angeles, LeBron gets to pick where he wants to go. Jimmy Butler got to move around where he wanted to. And in his mind, whether it's accurate or not, he's like, well, why don't I get my chance to do that? So Kevin Durant goes to Brooklyn, and he's thinking, well, you know what? Why don't you come up here with me? And I think that, and Kevin would never admit it, but I think that those two gentlemen had lots of conversations in the offseason, the short offseason that it was, and they said, you know what? You get a chance now to go play where you want to go, and you can make that happen. So this is how you're going to do it. You're going to go in and you're going to tell them that you don't think the people around them are very good. All the different changes the Rockets have made the last couple of years have been good enough, and you're going to do whatever you can to force a trade, and that's exactly what happened.
What was the dynamic like with John and James? Because I think it kind of took John aback, right, when you guys acquired John Wall?
I don't think it was ever very good. You got to realize, guys, and you know this, we don't get to see them face to face ever.
Mm-hmm.
I have the great fortune of being the arena announcer, so I get to see them on the court, but I don't go in locker rooms before games. You only get to talk to them via Zoom. There's no so all you have to do is go to what you think could be happening or what someone may whisper to you. But my guess is, boys, that the vibe between John and James never got off to a good start. And that's not the reason why I think James forced this.
Right.
I just don't think, honestly, James ever wanted, no matter who came here, that he felt like, you know what, everybody else gets a turn to go play where they want to go. Now it's my turn. And that's not fair because, honestly, guys, as you know, if you follow the Rockets at all, James has been able to acquire anybody, through, the general manager, Daryl Morey, has been able to get people here. Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. I mean, the Rockets have basically, or did, allow him to do not necessarily what he wanted, but if he had asked for a request for a player or a coach or how the team was run, they took him very seriously. So it's a little bit different than other athletes just saying, I've got a year left in free agency, I don't want to stay here. James is very active in kind of shaping and molding who the Rockets were.
So Matt, Oladipo comes in. He'll be paired up with John Wall in the backcourt. Is he being viewed right now as a rental, or is he a long-term piece in the long-term plans for the Rockets? Because if he's not, then all they're left holding is 4 first-round picks that look like they'll probably be in the 20s. What do they view Oladipo as right now in Houston?
Well, I think they view Oladipo as a guy that can hopefully create some harmony down here. If you've watched Oladipo the last year or so, the reviews about him being happy or unhappy in Indiana have been very mixed. I read a report this morning, or actually last night before I went to bed, that at the end of the day, I think Victor Oladipo would like to go to Miami. He is a free agent at the end of the year. If this team kind of flourishes, my guess is Victor Oladipo stays through the end of the year, and the Rockets try to convince him to stay, for a longer term. If this team kind of, hangs around 500 or underperforms or is under 500, I would not be surprised if Victor Oladipo gets moved before the trade deadline. And so as far as the draft capital you're talking about is, first of all...
Ooh, do we lose him?
Sounded like we lost him.
Call
he had
him
a
back,
clear
Dravy.
line. I don't know. Was he on the phone or was that like a Comrex or something? He sounded so
Sounded
clear.
good. Yeah.
It was a line.
It was the line. Call him back. Stupid cell phone.
Interesting that they might end up dealing Oladipo.
I know. He's certainly not a long-term fixture there.
Well, hasn't Oladipo made it public that he wants to be like somewhere in Florida, or does he want to be in Orlando? Miami. He wants to be in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He wants that no state income tax. That's what he wants.
Nothing wrong with
He
that.
wants That's
But you're right. I
that's a
mean, with the
good thing.
draft, you have no idea where the draft slots are going to be, how good those players are going to be. But when Harden says, I want out, you got to trade him. And that's what they
I
did
guess that's the way it works. It seems
with
like.
the superstars.
All right.
You know, I mean, if Rui Hachimura says, I want to be traded, well, you don't necessarily listen to that.
Right.
All right.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are.
go.
Sorry about that.
Guys, I just gave you the best 75 seconds of my professional radio career.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's what happens.
You know how it works. So
we were
you're
talking
talking
about
about
we were talking about the draft capital.
Oh, yeah. Again, who's to say what those picks are going to be?
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you do with those picks, if they're all going to be in the 20s, is you take two of them and you move up to the lottery, or you use them as part of a sign-and trade. So to give you a shorter answer to what I gave you before, people here in Houston don't care about the draft picks. People care here that this Rockets team needs to get some better harmony, because it was definitely disjointed this year with James.
Hey, by the way, going back to James Harden and that rapper party, didn't he give him like $500,000 or something absurd?
No, it was only
like that?
$100K, JP.
Oh,
not
only
half a
$100K.
million.
Hey,
Honey bun, boys. Honey
Honey
bun.
bun. The honey bun, JP. You know that. You love honey buns.
I've forgotten about the honey bun. Sorry. Yeah, $100K. Hey, let's get back to John Wall a little bit, because he was such a fixture here and was beloved in the city. Whether or not he was as successful as people wanted him to be, he had his moments, jumped on the table after winning one of the playoff games. They certainly weren't as successful as expected, but he was beloved. How has the Houston fan base received him, and how has he played? I'm surprised. It seems like he's basically picked up from where he was a couple years ago, despite coming back from the Achilles.
Yeah, guys, I'll be honest with you, and no disrespect to your great basketball team, but we don't follow the Wizards a whole lot down here. But he was pretty good. He's been pretty good. I like him. I don't know him at all, and it's kind of sad because as a radio broadcaster, you travel with the team normally, but we're not traveling this year. As a matter of fact, I'm calling tonight's game against the Spurs from the Toyota Center on the big Jumbotron. That's why I've been doing all the road games. So I don't get to know these guys at all at this point. But he looks like he shows no signs of injuries. Now, he's not going to play tonight against San Antonio with a little soreness here and there, but generally speaking, he's been really good. Three-point shots are really not there, but the explosiveness, guys, as you remember him 4 or 5 years ago when he was doing it, is every bit there. So I would say at this point it has been a very pleasant transformation to him, and he seems to be getting along and kind of willing to take over, and I think this will give him an opportunity to show more of that alpha dog that he probably showed when he was with you guys in DC.
Ooh, good betting angle there. Now we know John's not going to play tonight.
Yeah.
I like that inside scoop.
What are we
I
getting?
wish it was an inside, but I think everybody else knows. So that's
I didn't, obviously. So.
What are we getting with Russell? We know that he's got great reviews from players and coaches. Everybody said just great teammate. You know the work ethic and how hard he plays. What was he like to cover?
I only did it for 1 year. It's so funny, guys. And we all do this as sports radio hosts. When guys are not with you, you naturally hate them because of either their stat stuffers or they're hotheads or they're just jerks or you just don't know them. And it's not necessarily because they put the uniform on of the team that you follow or cover or root for. You just get to know them a little bit. I liked Russ. Very private, but very much team-oriented, very much I want to be a leader. And I would have thought the two guys, James and Russ, being childhood friends, would have gotten along beautifully and had a chance to play with each other for the first time since they were in Oklahoma City. It just didn't work out that well because, again, when you're 18 years old or 17 years old playing basketball, it's different than when you are making gazillion dollars at the age of 31 or 32. So I was very disappointed. I was actually one of the few people in Houston that thought the trade was good because, again, I think sometimes when you play with your friend, when Batman plays with Robin, you get to work out well, and it just didn't work out. He was very good in the before the pandemic, and then when they got down to Orlando and played the bubble, it just wasn't the same basketball player. But I liked him a lot. Again, very small sample size. And I want to further one more point with you on getting to know people that you don't know. Mm-hmm. DeMarcus Cousins. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the real hotheads in the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. I've found this new respect for him. He's just a really interesting person that, again, gets aggressive on the court and gets lots of technicals and whatnot. But, man, he can command a room, and he appears to me, and, again, I don't know him very well because I only see him in the hallways before games and whatnot. he comes across as a teddy bear who's not on the court. So it's just interesting to me that we've had two of these people that have been so volatile and so much you have to hate them because they're not on your team. And now with DeMarcus here and with Russell last year, they've been kind of nice surprises.
Now, he's just a role player on the team, at least right now, because Christian Wood is becoming a baller, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's 20 points a game, 10 rebounds, can shoot the three, really good pick-and-roll player. Really, frankly, and again, I think anybody that makes $41 million can't be a steal, but relatively speaking in the NBA world, he's a steal. So it's been at least been so far.
All right, so now that James goes to Brooklyn, he's got KD there. Kyrie, who knows? He just seems like a nightmare. But I assume at some point he'll be back. But you've got the three-headed monster there. They're all ball dominant. They got worse defensively with the guys they lost. They certainly didn't get better. But you need superstars to win. The East is probably kind of up in the air, even though Brooklyn's probably the favorite. What do you see there? Can that work with those three guys?
Well, as far as James is concerned, it better work. I mean, he's dictated a lot down here. And by the way, I want to make sure I'm very clear. I am still a James Harden fan. Guys, you got to realize there are very few scorers in the NBA that wake up and can score 35 points, dish out 8 assists, grab 6 rebounds. I mean, that's who James Harden is. And if he's vested and is interested and wants to win, I think he can absolutely do so. So whether it works or not, I frankly think it's more on Kyrie's side of things and what they're getting from him the rest of the year more than James. But for James's legacy, it better work because, as I said, all the things the Rockets did the last handful of years to change coaches, change players on the roster, and then he gets the opportunity to actually go somewhere with still 2 years left in his contract. For the legacy of James Harden, he better win at least the Eastern Conference. And so that's, as far as I'm concerned, I think more it's on Kyrie. I think Kevin Durant will be probably a pretty good influence on James. And maybe we'll see if James changes it all because it's not James' team anymore. It's Kevin Durant's team.